Imagine waking up to headlines filled with conflict, assassinations, gang wars, and protests turning deadly. It feels like violence is everywhere, and in 2025, that's not just a feeling. From political killings in the US to gang control in Haiti and mass protests in Nepal to the record number of global conflicts, violence is on the rise across the world. But why? And what happens if this trend doesn't stop? Let's break it down. We are living in a time when the world is experiencing over 70 active state-based conflicts, the highest level since World War II. Think about that for a second. More wars, insurgencies, and armed clashes than at any point in the last 80 years. That's not just a statistic. It's a warning sign. On top of that, the United Nations now reports that 122 million people have been displaced worldwide, a historic record. Imagine the population of Japan forced to leave their homes. That's the scale of this crisis and the cost. Violence drains nearly $20 trillion a year from the global economy, about 11 to 12% of the world's GDP. That's money that could be going to schools, hospitals, and innovation, lost to conflict and chaos. It's not just happening in fragile states. Even established democracies are seeing violence bleed into politics. In September 2025, US activist Charlie Kirk was assassinated during a speech, sending shockwaves through the country. Experts warn of a vicious spiral where each act of political violence fuels the next. This isn't just about one country. Across Europe, far-right and far-left groups are clashing in the streets. Political polarization, amplified by social media, is making compromise feel impossible and turning disagreements into violence. Then there's Haiti. In 2025, gangs now control nearly 90% of Port-au-Prince, the capital city. Over a million people have been displaced as armed groups battle each other and defy the government. Even the army has failed to regain control. This isn't just gang warfare, it's what happens when a state collapses. No functioning government, no reliable police, no safe streets. For ordinary Haitians, daily life has become a struggle for survival. Civil unrest is also growing. In Nepal, mass protests erupted this year over inequality and corruption. What started as peaceful demonstrations spiraled into deadly clashes, with several deaths and even resignations in government. From Latin America to the Middle East, we're seeing more and more protests that begin as peaceful but end with violence. Economic strain, climate stress, and political repression are all fueling the fire. So what's driving this surge? There isn't just one answer, it's a combination of deep interconnected factors. Economic inequality is widening. When people feel left behind, frustration can turn into anger. Climate changes draining resources, droughts, floods, and food shortages create fertile ground for conflict. Digital disinformation spreads hate and amplifies divisions faster than ever before. Weak governance in fragile states leaves a vacuum that armed groups are quick to fill. And polarization in democracies turns political debates into zero-sum battles. Together, these forces are pushing violence to levels we haven't seen in decades. Behind the numbers are real people, families forced from their homes, children growing up in refugee camps, communities living in fear. In Haiti, mothers walk for hours just to find safe water. In Sudan, civilians are caught in the crossfire of warring factions. In the US, people now talk openly about political violence as if it's inevitable. This normalization of violence, whether in war zones or on city streets, is the most dangerous trend of all. If we don't reverse this trajectory, violence risks becoming the new normal. That means more failed states like Haiti, more authoritarian crackdowns to maintain order, more refugees and displaced people with nowhere to go, and more everyday insecurity, even in places once considered safe. The world of tomorrow could be one where people expect violence instead of peace, and that's not a future anyone should want. The picture sounds bleak, but it's not hopeless. Violence has declined before. After the Cold War, the number of conflicts dropped dramatically. It can happen again. Investments in education, strong institutions, climate resilience, and peace building can break the cycle. Civil society movements and international cooperation still matter, and individuals, through rejecting hate, demanding accountability, and supporting peace, can push back. But it takes awareness, it takes effort, and it takes action before it's too late. So why is violence rising across the world? Because multiple crises, political, economic, environmental, and social, are colliding at the same time. The danger isn't just the conflicts themselves, but the risk that we accept them as normal. If we want a different future, we need to act now. Because the alternative is a world defined not by progress, but by perpetual violence. If you want to see can AI governments really replace politicians, click the video on your screen now.